Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living your life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Then welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. You know, this whole COVID thing has really allowed for a lot of reflection. And one of the things that was crossing my mind was how, in our constant state of shelter in place and quarantine and lockdown and our inability to travel and engage in celebrations and such, really had me reflecting on the ideas of carpe diem and ichigo ichie. I've discussed some of those things in the past, but what I would like to do is use this as an opportunity to stress to you how important it is to not put off experiences, adventures, because you never know what may come along that would prevent you from engaging in those adventures. We really do have to have a sense of living in the present moment instead of having this habit that we've been conditioned to have to push everything off into the future. We'll do it one day. We'll do it someday. We'll do it when we retire, right? That's what we have been conditioned to believe and accept here in the United States is, we'll travel when we retire. We'll do this when we retire. Everything is when we retire. Meanwhile, your life slips by. There's no guarantee that by the time you retire, your health will allow you to do such things, or the state of the world will allow you to do such things, or even the fact that the things you want to do may no longer be there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not recommending to become hedonistic. I'm recommending to do what we can responsibly as we can, but we need to engage in the adventures while we can, while they are available. You know, my wife and I do a lot of traveling. Well, we did, and we will again. But we've done a lot of traveling, and a lot of times we observe older couples and groups on these trips. And so often they're there seeing this place, this incredible place, but they aren't experiencing it. So this is what I mean. I'm going to use a real life experience for you, and one of going down into one of the pyramids in Egypt. If you were to take a virtual tour of this, it would be interesting, it would be entertaining, but it is nothing like actually being there, actually going down through the corridors in these tunnels and reaching a point where you've been going down in the small shaft for a long time and you can't see the end of where you started or where you're going any longer. And you get a little bit of panic, and then you regroup yourself and you recenter and you summon your courage and you keep going down into these deep underground chambers to see what awaits you. You don't get the feeling of your hands on the stones that are thousands or even tens of thousands of years old. You don't get to smell what it smells like inside the actual pyramid. You don't get to stand and create vibration in one of these rooms that creates an incredibly powerful resonance. You can't do any of that by taking a virtual tour. All you can do is be mentally entertained. And if you go to these places, like the vast majority of people do, they go to these places just to see them so they can say that they were there and that they saw it. But that's not experiencing it, right? Imagine going all of that way, from wherever you live, all the way to Egypt, to the pyramids, only to be able to get off of a tour bus and take a few photographs and then get back on the tour bus. That's not experiencing. It's a whole different thing when you actually go inside the pyramid. You crawl your way down into these chambers. You get to go into these corridors and chambers within the actual pyramid. You get to know what it is to climb down and then to climb your way back up in these very small shafts. You actually get the adventure of being there and interacting with it, and this is what allows us to truly experience something. So I always encourage people, if you have the means, you have the ability to do anything you want to do in life, don't put it off. Do it. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Why should you keep putting your life on hold, waiting for later? Because later may never come. And if it does, you may be incapable of truly interacting with and experiencing what it is you desire to do. We have the opportunity right now to reflect on the truth of this and to think about all the things that we have been putting off, waiting for someday. You see, as human beings, we have an inherent mental flaw. And what that flaw is we have this belief that there's always tomorrow. We can always do it tomorrow. I see this in martial arts students, right? You tell them that they need to train consistently and train long enough, and then you see in their behaviors that they look at it as, well, I can do that tomorrow. I can do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and goes. And then your life goes by. And you never accomplished what it is you desired to accomplish. And you reach a point where it's too late. Obviously, the same holds true with spiritual practices. I've had students who engage in basic practices, but they don't do so with conviction. They create this false belief in their mind that, well, I'll work on it a little bit, and I'll work on it a little bit. As long as I'm making some progress, it's good. And then they've made no progress, and suddenly years have gone by. Years to do one simple practice that should have been easily accomplished within 2 months, 3 at the most. And then those years can turn into decades, and then they just fade away, and again, you have accomplished nothing. Same holds true with vacations, places that we would love to visit. Yeah, someday I'm going to go there. Someday I'll get there. This was the idea that my grandparents had, and this is something that to this day just breaks my heart. Both of my grandparents have passed on, but my grandpa was my best friend, just an incredible, incredible man. He had seen a lot of the world because he was in the Navy in World War II. But his dream was to go on a cruise to Alaska. And I spent much of my younger years not having much for funds, but I worked hard. 20-hour days. I worked 2 different jobs. I created my own business, and I worked my butt off. And I eventually put myself in a position where I could take him on that cruise. And I began to set it up, and I was really excited. because this was an opportunity for me to give something to him because he had given me so much throughout my life. So the day came where I contacted him and let him know that we were going to go on a 10-day cruise to Alaska. And he refused. He said, "No, I'm not going to go." And I said, "What do you mean? This is your dream. We can do this. This is fine." And he said, "No, I'm not going to leave your grandma here." And I said, "No, I've already got that taken care of. She'll be taken care of. I have family coming to stay with her." He said, No, she won't go, and I'm not going to do it." And he passed away, never seen Alaska. And that still just breaks my heart. My grandma was the same way. I don't know why. She had a fascination with Japan. That's where she wanted to go because it was something so incredibly different that she couldn't really comprehend what it was about. And it was a strange thing, but she told me she wanted to go, and I had been there several times already. So I told her, I said, let's go. I'll take you with me. I've been there dozens of times. I can make sure you have a great time. And she too refused. And she said, "Well, they were the enemy in the war, so I can't betray your grandpa that way." And so I brought her a couple dolls back from Japan, which she kept, but she never got to go. She never got to have that incredible experience. And going to Japan is an incredible experience, so much so that I've been there 42 times now. And no, I still have not had my fill. Actually, we're supposed to be there this fall for a couple of weeks, and obviously that wasn't allowed to happen. So how grateful I am when I reflect on the fact that I started to go as early as possible. My first trip to Japan was in 1998. And if I never get to go again, I got to go 42 times. I got to have my wife over there 5 or 6 times. So glad we did it. So glad we didn't put it off and then never have the chance to experience it. So this is one of the tremendous benefits of the mental and spiritual practices that I share with you, is disciplining and strengthening the mind enough to do what you desire to do now, instead of the mind being weak and lazy and procrastinating, putting it off, or fooling yourself into believing you're doing enough when all you do is a couple of minutes of something. It's kind of like meditation. So many people think, as long as I sit and I think about a certain positive phrase for 3 minutes a day, I'm meditating. Sorry, that is not at all meditation. It's not a bad practice, but it's not meditation, and it's really not even a spiritual practice. See, it's not enough to matter. It's kind of like doing 1 push-up a day. That isn't going to get you anywhere. That isn't doing anything, right? We have to put forth enough effort. And in order to do so, we need to make sure that our mind is strong enough and disciplined enough to do so. And these practices will help you to start to live more fully in the moment, because if you're not out there experiencing the adventure of your life, you're not living life to the fullest. This is how it happens. So when we're in the moment, we aren't putting things off into the future, because there is no other moment. There is no future. That's just now. This is just now. So you start to plan things. There was one day that I was here writing away on a new book, and my wife contacted me from work and said, "Hey, do you want to go to Japan next week?" And came out of nowhere. We hadn't discussed it or anything. And she said, I could get some vacation approved. There's a special event going on in Japan. It's the 1200th anniversary of Kukai and Koyasan. How would you like to go? And I said, yes. So we just dropped everything and we did it and we went, and it was an incredibly amazing adventure, one that I will cherish forever. One of my favorite trips to Japan. See, the spontaneous adventures are always some of the best. And this is living life to the fullest. When you are looking to the future, you are incapable of living your life, let alone living it to the fullest. We have to be in the moment. And that's why these practices are so incredibly important. They allow us to establish a sense of mindfulness. They allow us to be able to connect to what it actually is to be in the present moment. And that opens the doorway for us to live a fully engaged life. This idea of always putting things off, always believing that we have tomorrow, that we have another day, this is an incredibly erroneous mindset. And now, here we are, locked down, incapable of having many adventures, especially international ones. So we have limitations on our life experiences right now. So we can use this time as an opportunity then to engage in mental and spiritual practices that will allow us to come out of this time better than before, more ready, willing, and able to live a fully engaged life instead of falling right back into the same old habits and patterns that we went into this quarantine with. And when you look around, it's easy to observe so many people caught in this cycle where they're just spinning around and around and around, and they never really accomplish anything that they actually desire to accomplish in life. They never get to experience the adventures because they always believe that they can do it tomorrow. They'll make the effort tomorrow. They'll get to it tomorrow. They'll have the money tomorrow. They'll have the free time tomorrow. And we can see this inherent mental flaw that I'm talking about that creates this belief in part as an unconscious egoic reaction. What do I mean by that? In order to have these grand adventures, in order to go out and live life to the fullest, you have to exit your comfort zone. Because living a fully engaged life begins where your comfort zone ends. And it is the ego that would like you to stay in that comfort zone. So that little voice in your head saying, well, I can do that tomorrow. Oh, well, I'll get to it tomorrow. I got more time. I'll get to it then. Yeah, that's the ego. Think about it. If this voice that you're hearing in your head all the time is you thinking, then who's doing the listening to that voice? So my question to you is, what practices are you engaging in right now that will benefit you once you are able to live more freely your life and adventure? What are you doing right now that's going to help you? I mean, drastically help you, allow you to exit these lockdowns and quarantines and all this stuff in a big, big way that's going to allow you to live fully engaged. What practices are you engaged in every day that are going to assist you in having that transformation happen in your life? Now, the other question I have for you is, what adventures would you like to experience in life? What experiences are you looking for that maybe you previously thought, well, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I retire. I'll do it when I get older. I'll do it when I have more money, whatever it is. What are those things? Write them down. Surely you have aspirations to go places and do things, experience things, right? Of course you do. It's human nature to have those things. It's healthy to have those things. The world is ours to explore and enjoy. So what is it you want to do? Because right now is the time for you to become very clear as to what those things are and start to set things in motion to be able to do them. But don't put your life on hold. Don't always believe that you'll be doing it in the future. Because I think that this COVID thing has been one of the biggest, most blatant wake-up calls to the truth of what I've covered in this podcast that you could ever ask for. Because just like that, one day, out of the blue, boom, everything changes. You're locked down. Oh, it'll just be for 2 weeks. That's all we need. Just let us do this for 2 weeks. Yeah, that was back on March 19th for us here. And here we are on August 24th. You never know. It can be an external circumstance. It could be something with your health. We don't know what the future will bring. So we live in the present moment as fully as we possibly can. And yes, it takes courage to do so. Yes, it takes some risks to do so. But it's a lot better than being afraid of everything and being afraid to actually live. Because there are so few people who truly live. They just exist their entire lives. That is not even living, let alone living fully engaged. So I'll just share one more quick experience because this has stuck with me, and it seemed like such a small thing, but it's had a rather large impact on my life for decades now. There was a special training event in martial arts that I went to, and this is a long, long time ago. And they had tables set up where other martial arts schools were selling instructional videos. And to let you know how long ago this was before DVDs. All there were video cassettes, VHS. So yeah, sorry about that, but that's what it was. And they were selling, training tools and things that they made. And I had purchased a few things, and I really didn't have a lot of money then to do much. I certainly couldn't get all the things that I really wanted. So I picked the most important things, and I had enough to get one more item, and that item I really wanted, but I felt bad about spending that amount, so I didn't do it. And a couple weeks later, I managed to have a little extra money. And, I'm not talking about much. I'm talking about $20-$30. And so I contacted the school owner and said, hey, do you still have that? I'd really like to buy that. And they said, nope, sold out, and we'll never be making any more. And I remember being so deflated from that and going, man, I had it in my hand and I really wanted to train with that, and it was right there. I had it in my hand, and I don't have the means or the know-how to make it myself, and it was a really nice item. So I learned a lesson that day that stuck with me for the rest of my life, and one that I started to share with my wife when we got together. If you're capable, if you have the means, when there's something that you see that you want, get it. Don't assume that it will be there tomorrow or 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now. If it's something you really want, whether it's on a trip somewhere or locally, you should get it. And when I first shared this with my wife, she was like, oh, I really like that dress. And I just grabbed it and bought it for her. And at first, I think, I'm going to put words in her mouth here a little bit. Sorry, honey. But I think that she found that a little frivolous. She laughed and found it a little frivolous. But I explained to her this is really not it. Because you're never going to have a chance to get that again. And since that time, I have brought that up so many times, and we have acted on that. And then we have found that even the next day or just within a week or so, that thing, whatever it is gone forever. Never to be made again, never see it again. And so she's really got to understand that lesson that I learned back then. And, this seems a little bit superficial and possibly even frivolous to you, but the realization of this is rather impactful. And it's true, if there's certain things that you're interested in, certain things, hobbies, interests, whatever it is, and you say, oh, well, I'd really like to have that, but I'm not going to get it right now. And you keep passing on these things, you keep passing this by, and then you end up with this feeling, I kind of wish I would have had that. I'd like to have that. I would have liked to have read that if it's a book or whatever it is. And then it's too late. You can't get it. See, this is part of the idea of Ichigo Ichie, of Carpe Diem, of this understanding of we have to be in the moment, live in the moment, seize the moment. And yes, we have to do this responsibly within our means, but we shouldn't always keep putting things off, right? That's a greater lesson here. So the focus is not upon any physical material possessions, and that doesn't matter. It's the knowledge that that book would have provided. It's the experience that that training tool would have provided. You see what I'm getting at? It's the experience from those things that you missed out on, not the thing itself. So I think it's a religious quote, but I'll say this to you because my grandfather often recited it to me. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And don't forget to visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. See, don't put it off. You can do it today. You can go there right now. You can order your copy of Expansion Mastery. You can even have it signed. You can check out all the other good stuff there. You can support me by sharing this podcast as well as doing all the social media stuff. I'm doing less and less on social media altogether. I'm looking at moving into some alternative platforms, but frankly, social media has left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not sure at this point that I'm even going to bother doing that. So make sure that you have the website bookmarked, because between that and this podcast, that may be the only source of this information. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best. I truly, truly do. In your practices and your life. Take care.